ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 13th race of the season for the Fuel RaceTrackDesigns IndyCar Series. After an off week, we are finally back with 3 races remaining here till we crown a champion. Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And tonight we're at the Milwaukee Mile, Sam, and we saw in practice a lot of drivers have issues with corner exit in 2 and 4, but is that just because they were trying to get everything that they could, or will we see them encounter that same issue during the race conditions?
At the start of these runs, these cars are very loose off of exit, but once these tires get warmed up and they're ready to go later on after about 5 to 10 laps, these cars should be good and they should be pretty stable from there on out. I mean, looking at some of the past races here at Milwaukee for these drivers, it's been a pretty clean race where cars aren't spinning out or wrecking one another. So I'm expecting it to be the same, but just based off practice, you never know. We might be seeing a lot of cars just losing it off of 4 or off of 2.
Coming into this race, it's only the second short track, if you will, of the season, although this is a mile in length, so I don't know if that would necessarily qualify in some people's books as a short track. But Jason Brophy just got the pole position for this race, and the other short track that we were at was Iowa, where he dominated. So do we see the 88 go 2 for 2?
I mean, I was expecting he was kind of my dark horse coming into this thing just because of how dominant Jason Brophy was at Iowa. I was like, well, he probably will be just as dominant here at Milwaukee. During practice, though, it was going to be Will Roberts that had the fastest car, but qualifying came around and Brophy decided I want the pole and showed us speed that he was not having earlier on in practice.
Bring up Will Roberts. I saw 3 names that were up there near the top of the board in terms of speed, and they are all drivers that are still looking for their first checkered flag of the season. Will Roberts is one of those, also Riley Thompson and Kite Bommersbach. So as the season starts to draw to a close, these drivers are more and more a little bit maybe sense of urgency. They know they're probably not going to win the championship, but they at least want to finish out the season with a trip to victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, the championship-wise, it's looking like this is all Nicholas Johnston's thing to lose at this point. But I mean, for everyone else, it's kind of setting yourself up for having the momentum to end off the season the right way so that when this next season starts, you're feeling more comfortable.
We also, with the end of the season drawing to a close, we're starting to see some new drivers maybe test the waters here, seeing if they want to take part full-time next season. Cass Silman in the 60 here tonight, as well as Trey Farley in the 23, JJ Odell in the 38. And we saw quite a number of these guys up there inside the top 5, top 10 in speed, so they might be able to play spoiler here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what these guys are going to do that are new to the league and new to us to see. So it's exciting to see new drivers coming in, probably testing the waters to see, hey, will I be here for next season? So if we see these guys run well, we might be seeing them in the next season of the IndyCar Series.
You mentioned about Nicholas Johnston, the 41 points over Liam Quinn, who's not in tonight's race, 63 over Andrew Wood, who is. I'll tell you the fun part of watching the end of the season, where the battle I think is going to be. 4th place Riley Thompson, 5th place Kite Bommersbach, 6th place Cohen Evans, and 7th place Rodrigo Munoz. Those 4 in the point standings, they're only separated by 2 points, and all 4 of them are in tonight's event. Oh, we got a car that just hit the wall off of 2 and went into the air.
I believe that was going to be the 23 machine that decided to hit the wall. I mean, yeah, that's just a mental lapse here. I mean, we're under pacing, about to go green, and you hit the wall. So that 23 machine is going to have to come in and get that repaired as the pace car is getting ready to pull off, and we're going to go green here. A weird start to start this race there for the 23 machine.
Absolutely. I mean, gracious, looked like the right front wing was gone off of Trey Farley, as he, it looks like, has brought his car to pit road. As off turn 2 they come, some of them double wide. Looks like they made it through.
Farley's
okay.
actually into the wall and now has to teleport his way in, so he didn't even get around turn number 2 before it's all over. But leading the first lap is going to be Jason Brophy, who has almost a second gap already. We are just 1 lap in.
He just completely shot out of a cannon as soon as the green flag flew. They were backed up from about 5th, 6th on back with Bommersbach, Thompson, Danny Roberts. They were battling as well for 3rd just moments ago with Cass Silman and Nicholas Johnston. If you're Johnston, obviously you're coming into this race with that nice points gap. We saw him, where was it? Was it back? I think it was at Las Vegas, I want to say. It was either Las Vegas or Iowa, where he was just kind of riding. He got caught up into an incident and DNF'd in that race. So with that being said, Does he kind of just ride here today, or with the fact that Liam Quinn is not in tonight's field, does he try and charge up the front, try and be a little bit more aggressive than he normally would be?
I mean, at this point, all that Johnston needs to worry about is finishing in front of Andrew Wood and not letting Wood win the race. And then he's got this championship locked up practically. So that's all that Johnston has to worry about. As I was watching guys that were side by side, they gotten it straightened out. And that was Riley Thompson and Kite Bommersbach. They were side by side, and somehow Bommersbach was able to hold off and keep fifth on the outside. We're seeing more side by side action back here with Nate Michaels and Andrew Wood.
Yeah, Andrew Wood almost pushed up the track into the left rear of Nate Michael, and I'm pretty sure Michael may have brushed the wall off turn 2 the last time around. We got to remember that these are the cars that have the wheels and suspensions all exposed, so you hit the wall, it's actually going to affect your car a lot more than if you were in a stock car that can usually take a little bit of a brush off the corner.
Yeah, I mean, you do not want to touch the wall at all, and you're seeing the different routes people are taking as, Michaels gets sideways and gets collected. Caution is out. That's 3 cars involved, might be even more.
I believe that was Nate Michael and Justin Miller, and we got a car flipping on the back straightaway in Miller in the 80 machine as his car comes to a stop just before the entrance of turn 3. It was hard to tell from the camera angle we had coming off turn 2. It looked like Nate Michael got a little bit of help, but I'm not sure who it was courtesy of.
Trying to see. It looks like also the 38 of... Oh, no, that was not JJ. That was a hit. That was Munoz that got a little bit of the action, got some wing damage after hitting Miller that got sideways.
Oh, wow. Down hard on the inside wall went Justin Miller, and there actually was no contact to spin the 5 car around. He just kind of seemed to push up there off of 2, and then the rear end came around on him.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that we were seeing in practice a lot, where cars coming off of turn 2 or 4, their cars would just get so loose, and we're starting to see cars coming into the pits, and it looks like we've got a total of 3 cars that decided to stay out.
You see nowhere to go from Miller. He gets into Michael and then continues to try and drive the race car, but after he hit the outside wall, the car just directed down to the inside wall, up and over. And I actually can't believe it that we're only 8 laps into this race, and we've already seen 2 cars up into the air. We had Farley on the pace lap, and just now Miller on the back straightaway.
And that's 2 guys that are new to the league that just had issues earlier on. So, it's showing that these cars are very difficult, and you got to be careful running out here. As looking at some of the cars that came through the pits, looks like Nicholas Johnston's going to be the one that got the furthest ahead on the pits and came out first, but to wait and see where he lines up. Looks like it's going to be 4th, so our top 3 did not pit, stayed out during this little incident that we had for our first caution.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what Johnston was doing right there. He flew by the top 3 who stayed out, in Brophy, Roberts, and Silliman, but then he slammed on the brakes. I don't know if he was just trying to make sure that his tires didn't cool down that much here under pacing, warm them up a little bit there. I don't know what the strategy was, but he will slide into the 4th spot ahead of Riley Thompson. I have to say, though, I'm not surprised to see Brophy especially stay out, because based off of what we saw him do back at Iowa, I think, and basically the lead we saw him get there on the initial green, I think doesn't matter if it's fresh tires or old tires, he just wants that track position.
Yeah, and Brophy's someone that understands this racetrack and just knows the short tracks a lot better than everyone else, it seems like. He just likes running these different tracks than what we're used to seeing the IndyCars race at. So Brophy doing a great job there at the start of that first initial start, and we'll see if he can get another fantastic start here, try to get the gap that he once had. Now let's see if Will Roberts has anything to challenge Brophy. Will Roberts, based off practice, fastest car during practice, thought he would have gotten the pole, but did not get it done. Also, Nicholas Johnston, he was 2nd during practice on time. So those are 2 cars that are going to try to challenge Brophy at some point.
Brophy's the only multi-time winner besides Nicholas Johnston this season. Johnston has 5 wins, and Brophy has 2 back-to-back wins at Iowa and Las Vegas, so he's trying to get his 3rd of the season, but I'm looking up here at a bunch of drivers, like you mentioned, Will Roberts. And really, if you consider the last few races that Will has been in, he has hit some hard luck. He's been involved in a lot of early spins at the road courses. He's been involved in a lot of wrecks that really weren't of his making at the speedways. So, for a driver that's been so down on his luck the past couple of weeks, the best cure would be a checkered flag, as the green flag is back in the air, and Brophy says, see ya once again.
Brophy did a fantastic start on that restart. He decided to just basically jack everyone else up. He woed up, waited for everyone else to get around his back bumper, then took off, and that looks like Danny Roberts got loose, spun it around. That's another caution, and that was something that I was talking to you about before the broadcast. This could be either a very clean race all the way through or a caution fest, and earlier on, we are seeing a lot of cars taken out very earlier on.
I'll be honest, I fully expected to see an early caution with the fact they were going to be lined up double wide at the initial start of this race. I kind of thought, though, with the fact it's single file restarts from here on in, they might be able to kind of figure it out, get into a long run, allow those tires to warm up. But as we saw right there, the cold tires striking for Danny Roberts. He looped it around and nosed into the inside wall, and as a consequence, he's fallen a lap down as he's currently on pit road making repairs.
I mean, I could call it the caster's curse, because I was just about to talk about Danny Roberts and how he was in 6th at the time, and I know that he's been having some bad luck all season long, and it looks like it continues here at the Milwaukee Mile.
I will clarify, it's not a broadcaster's curse unless you say their name. You thought it, so it's not the broadcaster's curse.
Thought of, and it was just like right before I was about to say it, that's when we saw the red car just spinning off course, and with Danny Roberts' accident, that is now 3 cars that have exited from our race. It's going to be Danny Roberts, Justin Miller, and Trey Farley. Those are your 3 drivers. We have a couple, we got Andrew Wood, who decided to come into the pits, get some repairs done, or just a quick pit stop, have the fresher tires, as well as Riley Thompson came in. So you got those 2 deciding to get some fresher rubber and get some fuel into that tank, as still the top 3 have not pitted yet during this race.
Definitely the tires that they would probably be coming in for, trying to get a little bit of extra grip. Obviously, they're giving up the track position, but you got notified that it really is just a one-stop race for these drivers. So all these drivers are going to be basically targeting anywhere from laps 70 to 80 to make that pit stop to be good on fuel.
Yeah, I mean, the window is looking like it was going to be 72 laps to 75 laps. It's a 150-lap race, so it could have been pushed to just a one-lapper. It mattered on how much of a fall-off the tires were, if we were going to see a 2-stop or not. But with these early cautions, it's allowing the guys that have not pitted yet to really stay out just a little bit longer to make sure that they can make it to the end. Everyone else, they're still going to have to come in as well, so they'll have 2 stops. And then Riley Thompson and Andrew Wood, they're going to have 3 stops if they have to pit one more time.
As you mentioned, Danny Roberts out of the race, a 3rd, along with Miller and Farley. And Danny, the highest in the points of those 3 that are retired, 9th in the points coming to this race. 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s in 11 starts here this season, but he will not be finishing it out here today. And I want to bring up real quickly here our track info, because I think this could be also playing a huge factor into it. We ran Iowa, if I recall correctly, under nighttime conditions. So there was a cooler track. There was a lot more grip. That's why we didn't see nearly as many wrecks as we're seeing right now here in just the first 15 laps. But outside temp, 79 degrees. The track temperature, though, is 99 degrees. And these guys, when they were out there in practice, they were dealing with conditions between 108, 109 track temps. So I got to think that since we're in like the afternoon conditions, that track temp is also playing into why they're finding such a lack of grip off of 2 and 4.
Yeah, that's why we're thinking later on in this race there'll be more grip. The track temp should go down just a little bit to help these tires so they're not slipping and sliding everywhere, but it's still extremely high. 99 degrees is an extremely hot track where these tires are just going to be sliding, hard to find grip. So there's a possible chance that we could be seeing more cars spinning it around off of the exit. That's the loosest part of the track for these cars, is the exit of 2 and 4. So that's primarily we're going to be seeing a lot of accidents if we continue seeing them. But pace car lights are out. We're going to be going this time as you see everyone stacking up on the high side.
And that's a strategy there by Jason Brophy, making sure that no one's going to be able to get a run and pass him drivers right. It's illegal to pass on drivers left before the start-finish line, but I don't think anybody even can get to him to the start-finish line, as again, he's 3 for 3 on terrific restarts.
And Johnston got a good restart as well, as he's going to be trying to battle for second with Stillman on the outside, and they're still staying side-by-side action for third.
We saw Nicholas Johnston trying to make a move on Silliman back on the last restart, but that quick caution of Danny Roberts kind of killed his momentum. He is the highest up with freshest tires right now, about 8 laps better tires than the top 3, now make it 3 of the top 4.
Trying to make as many moves with the fresher tires. And then one of the cars all the way back here that has the freshest tires, Andrew Wood, back in 10th. We'll see what type of moves he can make with his 4 tires that are down below.
He's already made a pass on Mike Hurley as they're double wide up ahead of him. That, I believe, is Rodrigo Munoz. He's also there with J.J. Odell and Cohen Evans, as they almost looked like they were thinking about 3 wide down the front straightaway, but they settle it at least to double wide. It looks like they're going to settle this out going into turn 3.
Yeah, Milwaukee's primarily known for being a one-groove course, staying on the inside, close to the yellow line, and some of these guys on the outside, everyone's kind of drifting up just a little bit higher than they usually are, and that's what's giving these guys chances, is seeing Andrew Wood go back here, almost thinking about making it 3 wide, as they are getting pretty racy back here from around 8th on back.
Andrew Wood following in the tire tracks of Evan Adams as they make their way around Cohen Evans, move Adams to 8th, Wood to 9th. Well, not yet. Whoa, gracious! Splits the middle 3 wide, and there was contact between himself and the 17 there at the start-finish line.
Cohen Evans going to be taking it wide, and his car is just not feeling right after that. His wings just slightly dented up, so that is going to affect that machine all the way through, and that gives Riley Thompson another position, while Andrew Wood now moving up to the 7th place.
And up towards the front, battle for second starting to heat up there, as you've got Nicholas Johnston, about maybe a little less than half a second behind Will Roberts, but the both of them are over a second and a half behind Jason Brophy. Now, we got to remember that this track is a mile in length, and yes, we only have 13 cars still in the field, but at some point, you've got to think Brophy's going to start encountering the tail end of the field and going to have to deal with dirty air being in traffic.
Yeah, he's not going to have to deal with it for long. The first lap car right now would be the 5 machine of Nate Michaels. He's about 13 seconds back from our leader, so about 10 seconds away from seeing Michaels go down a lap from our leader. So that's about, just based off of lap times, probably about 20 to 30 laps away from seeing Michaels be a lap down. But I mean, the next closest person was going to be Mike Hurley, who's about 8 seconds back. So still, this is kind of a short field compared to what we've been seeing all season long. So it's going to take a little bit longer for our leader to interact with lap traffic.
Battle for second now, about maybe 2.5 car length separation from Roberts back to Nicholas Johnston. And Will Roberts was one of the 3 drivers that stayed out under our 2 yellow flags. So he is currently 8 laps deficit in terms of tire rubber to Nicholas Johnston. Cass Silliman back there in the 60 machine, one of those other drivers that's here this evening making, I believe it's his first start of the season. He's one of the few that's still sticking it out, along with J.J. Odell in that 8th position. As we mentioned, Trey Farley's out of the race early, and Nate Michael, after that damage he sustained, he's back off the pace in the 13th position.
I'm back here watching the battle for 7th as it is continuing, for 8th, where you got Odell and Evans just side-by-side action, and then you got a very car that wants to get up and go of Riley Thompson with those fresher tires, just lingering behind, waiting if he's going to go 3 wide or just trying to push one of the cars to go forward and stop staying side-by-side.
You get a group of 4 now as Evan Adams joins this group, and I'm a little bit surprised because we saw Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson both pit under the last yellow. Andrew Wood has made good on those fresh tires up to 6th, but Thompson mired back here in the 9th position. He didn't really charge up to the front nearly as quickly as Andrew Wood did.
Well, Andrew Wood got kind of lucky with seeing with Evan Adams and everyone else kind of hitting one another, giving opening for Andrew Wood to be able to make all these passes, while Riley Thompson's been stuck behind cars that are too wide. And he's not, it's just, there's been no opening for this 56 machine to have any space to make a charge forward. But Riley Thompson finally making some passes, is now up to 8.
And Evans not able to hold it on the bottom there through 1 and 2 yet again, although he will slot in front of JJ Odell. So Evans 9th, Odell in 10th, and Adams there in the 11th spot. Move a little bit further back up towards the front of the field, and we got ourselves a good battle here for a top 5 position. And as soon as it starts, it's over. The fresh tires prevail. Andrew Wood will move into the top 5. Kite Bommersbach falls back to 6th.
Yeah, looking at the lap times, Andrew Wood, one of the fastest cars on track at the moment, about a 10th faster than our leader. So that's showing the difference in pace between someone that has 17-old tires to someone who has 30-lap-old tires.
The only thing about it, though, being a 10th quicker with the amount of ground that he has lost after making that pit stop. I mean, he's almost 6 seconds still behind Jason Brophy. You mentioned before we came on the air about some drivers possibly thinking of splitting this race into 2 pit stops rather than just the one to maybe get an advantage on fresh tires. I don't really know if only 1/10 of a second between a 12 or 13 lap difference of tires would be enough to draw these drivers to that 2-stop strategy.
Well, just because of how small the field was, it made sense for Andrew Wood and for Riley Thompson just to try something different from everyone else early on in this race. I mean, it's helped out Andrew Wood, who was 8th at the time when he came into the pits, now is up to 5th after seeing these runs. The guys in front of him, side-by-side action, I believe, no, that is passing a lap car, is Silman in front of Andrew Wood.
Closest battle for position right now would be for the 10th spot. Evan Adams just got around a couple laps ago, JJ Odell, but Odell's still right there within striking distance, maybe about 4 car lengths off.
And then you also got Andrew Wood right on the back bumper. Silman up for 4th. So I think in the long run for Andrew Wood, it's working out. The only car he's trying to run down is Johnston. Yes, he needs a win to really help himself and boost himself to possibly have a chance to challenge Johnston in the points championship, but I think all that he has his sights on is how do I beat this 28 machine that's in 3rd at the moment. As Andrew Wood right now is in 5th.
You might be right. Andrew Wood, of course, started out the season with a win at Motegi, but since then, not really the greatest of finishes in terms of his comparison to Nicholas Johnston, because obviously Johnston, after that, went to victory lane 5 times, 3 in a row at one point at a trifecta of road courses. I even think that at this point, even if Andrew Wood is able to win here tonight, win in the next 2 weeks at Watkins Glen, Chicagoland, just the fact that Nicholas Johnston, even if he doesn't win, he always manages to finish up there, usually in the podium. I mean, that's such a huge deficit of 63 points to overcome, and you've got your main source of competition still finishing up there in the front of the field.
Yeah, I mean, the only chance that these guys had was when Johnston DNF'd from that race. I think it was, like you said, it was either Las Vegas or Iowa. And that was the only chance really to gain points, and all the guys that were trying to gain points didn't have the best day there. So it's just a rough race for these guys that are trying to run down Johnston, but Johnston's just been Mr. Consistent all season long, and it doesn't help that next week we're going to be going to a road course where we've seen Johnston just be dominant at.
Absolutely, and if you consider it too, it's probably a road course that just about everybody in the field is going to have experience at with being Watkins Glen. I mean, we've gone to Laguna Seca, we've gone to Road Atlanta, Road America, Mid-Ohio. These are tracks that, yeah, a lot of your road course ringers will have raced at, but everybody has raced at Watkins Glen.
So we were talking about pit stops and when to come in and what's the best time to. Well, if you try to push it to a 2-stopper, there's a possible chance that it could work out. Cars up front, they are on 39-lap-old tires, and they are about a second off of what they were running their best lap times were. So it's just showing there is a drop-off after 40 laps. And yes, you can push these tires and fuel all the way to 72, 75 laps, but do you want to push it that far, and when do you want to pit?
Well, yeah, but the thing with that strategy that I see, 2 things. Number one, if you're Jason Brophy, obviously you want the track position. He has not really allowed anybody, including Will Roberts, to close up the gap at all to any less than 2 seconds. The second thing is, this is considered a short track, so you know for certain you're going to lose a lap if you come to pit road. I just don't know if you can gain that lap back if some other drivers are just going to go with the one-stop strategy.
Yeah, I mean, we know that you're going to be losing a lap, but could you be losing more than a lap if you have damage on your car? So some of the cars in the back Got to be careful if you do have damage. Watching up front, though, at Jason Brophy, he's now coming to pass to lap down once again of Nate Michaels. And looking at the other drivers, it looks like Brophy is about, I would say, 10 to about 20 laps away from starting to lap the guys back in 12th and 11th, where we see these guys a lot closer to one another. And this is where dirty air could cause the 88 machine to have some issues.
We do manage to run the rest of this race under green flag conditions as well. Makes you wonder how many cars will be on the lead lap when all is said and done. We've got 3 drivers out of the race. Currently 1 driver a lap down. As you mentioned, 2 more within possible closing distance in the next 10 or so laps to maybe also be off the lead lap to race leader Jason Brophy. We're focused back here at this battle for 4th place. And the thing I'm noticing right now, 43 laps for Cass Silliman, 30 laps for Andrew Wood. It looks like now the fresh tires that were giving Wood an advantage early on, they have tapered off. It seems to have evened out because he's not reeling in the 60 nearly as fast as he reeled in a lot of other drivers when we went back green.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't reeling them in as fast as he could, but as we say that, now he's reeling in Silliman. He just started hitting his marks once again, and now he's even closer, almost 2/10 away from the 60 machine. But it's one of those things of, we saw Andrew Wood pushing his car so much, trying to get past all the traffic and just trying to get back up front, that's probably where he used up most of his good tires, and he didn't have enough to get past Silliman earlier on. Now he has to wait, hit his marks, and now he's going side-by-side action here for 4th, and we'll get the pass done coming off of 4th.
Seems like at this type of a track, that's exactly where you want to make the move last second going into the corner, because then there's no opportunity for someone to be able to throw a block on you unless they want to possibly run the risk of going around off your nose.
Yeah, it's one of those risky, you got to predict what the car's going to do behind you if you try to block, and get very dangerous. As now Andrew Wood setting his sights on to 3rd place, but 3rd place is a little bit under 3 seconds away.
Mentioned about Andrew Wood being able to pretty much pick his spots to work his way up through the field a lot quicker than Riley Thompson. Thompson, however, a little slower, but just as methodical, working his way up towards the front. He restarted back, I think it was in the 12th position on the last restart. He's now up to 7th, and he's about a second and a half away from catching up to Kite Bommerspot for what would be the 6th position. But up front, it continues to be Jason Brophy showing the way. And I gotta wonder if Brophy would maybe think about stretching it as far as it could go before he comes to pit road, because right now, according to the calculations, he could probably make it to about lap 75. And so I don't know if he would go that far, or if when the fuel window opens around lap 70, if that's when he would come to pit lane.
Yeah, you might be able to go a little bit further than 75 if you try to stay out for the full distance. Just because we had the 2 cautions, it enabled the 88 machine to save more fuel, so he'll be able to go the max amount of over 75 laps, so that'll be past the halfway marker. It's more of, though, of where will his tires be once we get close to the 75 lap or 70 lap marker. How far back or how much wear will the tires be compared to everyone else? As we saw, it's about 30 laps that these guys, 30 to about 25 laps, so you can run, and you'll be faster than our leader right now. But then at 30 laps, it really drops off and you even out on tires. So you've only got 30 laps to gain as much time as possible on the cars in front of you.
Riding on board here with race leader Jason Brophy, and I heard you bring up a point that I want to just expand on a little bit further. With the fact that the tires are wearing down, obviously at this track, there's no way you're able to take these corners flat out full throttle, especially going into a long run like we have here. Is there any opportunity, you think, for Jason Brophy to coast into these corners and save a little bit of extra fuel? Same for the rest of the drivers in the field.
Yeah, I mean, you could completely try to save fuel. I mean, we've seen that Brophy's gotten out to a 3.5 second gap, and he's not gapping anyone as fast as he could, but he's still running faster than everyone else. His car's just as super smooth out here, and there's 2 different strategies. You can push your car as hard as you want on this first stretch. Don't even care. Just push it as far as you can, and then the second stretch, that's when you try to save your fuel and your tires for later on in the race so that you have stuff at the end. But those are, or you flip it, you save as much as you can on the first stretch, and then you push it as hard as you can on that second. You have to wait and see what our leader is going to do, as our top 2 are going to be pitting here in the next 20 laps or so. The other car that's going to have to pit is that 60 machine in 5th place. Everyone else, they'll pit about about 10 laps after, or even 15 laps after our leaders, if they try to push it as far as they can.
We last saw him going 2 laps down, but Nate Michael has taken his car back behind the wall. So 4 drivers now in the garage area, 12 drivers still running of 16 that took the green to start this race. And we're about to have another lap machine here. That's Mike Hurley in the 33, looks in his rearview mirror and sees that bright yellow number 88 of Jason Brophy. I saw somebody in the race chat comments here just before we went to qualifying say that they really missed the Jason Brophy UPS scheme. I do too, because it's kind of unusual for me to look and see a bright yellow car and Brophy behind the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing that UPS car all season long, and it's so weird seeing this other yellow scheme out here, but it's still a very clean scheme, and it's amazing to see all the different stuff that people are trying to throw out there coming here to the end of the season.
Riley Thompson has now reeled in Kite Bommersbach for that 6th position. There is a difference of only 5 laps between the tires. Bommersbach has been out there for 48 laps, Thompson for 43, but Thompson gets the run out of 4. He'll look to the inside going into turn 1. Don't think Bommersbach's going to put up that much of a fight. And the thing I'd kind of be worried about for some of these guys that are getting past, that get kicked up to that second groove, we saw earlier when that wreck took place for the first caution involving, I believe it was Nate Michael, he was up in that second groove and looped it around. If these drivers are out there on worn tires and are up in that second line, I almost really worry for them what kind of grip they'd be getting off the corner.
I mean, due to the fact that we've been running about 58 laps, it's really enabled this track to be having a lot more grip up there. So it's not as loose, but yeah, you got to be careful getting too high, getting into the marbles that could make your car get a little loose, and you can loop it around coming off the corner. I was looking at the times, and ever since Jason Brophy started lapping down some of these machines, he's been running a little bit slower than Will Roberts. Will Roberts, yes, he's over 3 seconds back, but he was about 3.8 seconds back, and now is cut down to 3.2 seconds. I mean, it's cool to see that once lap traffic comes in, that Will Roberts is able to gain time, but it's kind of a little bit too late at this point, as he is already 3 seconds back. He's going to have to short pit at some point, and speaking of pits, the 60's already in.
So Cass Silliman from what at the time was the 5th position, going to hit pit lane. Now, I'm not certain this early if Silliman can make it the rest of the way. I mean, right now I've got it projected that he can maybe make it to about lap 135. So for guys like Brophy, Will Roberts, and Cass Silliman, they maybe have to hope for a caution to come out here, because everybody else might be able to make it on one stop where they might have to do it on 2.
Well, I mean, we're looking at fuel, right? The fuel could make it to where you could split this directly in half. That's just because of the pit stops and all the cautions we had. It allowed these guys to have that chance just to split it and be okay. But it might be due to the fact that tires not feeling that well, that Silliman felt like he needed to come in, and all the other guys that have already pitted previously, I mean, maybe they'll push it to about 60 laps. They should be all right to the end. It's just going to be interesting to see how these drivers take these corners and take these next couple of pit stops, as we are still green. And Brophy still ahead, but Will Roberts slowly gaining and chipping away at that lead. But as I say that, then Brophy pulls away by about a 10.
Yeah, I mean, Will Roberts now having to deal with the traffic that Brophy just dealt with, so that's why his lap times are slowing a little bit. Looking here at a battle for 8th between Cohen Evans and Evan Adams. Cohen Evans 6th in the points coming into this race. Adams comes into this one 12th in points so far, trying to work his way up into the top 10 in the standings, which he may be close to doing here, as Byron Daly's not in the field here tonight. Danny Roberts with an early exit, so he's got a shot as he'll drive to the inside going into 3 of Cohen Evans, and he will complete the pass there. Right now, I talked about that 4-driver battle of less than 2 points coming into this race from 4th on down through 7th. Right now, the highest of those drivers is Riley Thompson, currently in the 5th position. Kite Bommersbach currently in 6th, and Cohen Evans, we just saw move into the 9th position. So those drivers right now, with where they're running, still could be in close proximity to each other points-wise when we get to Watkins Glen next week.
Well, Brophy found some traffic that really slowed him up because Will Roberts has cut down the lead down to 2.7 seconds, now 2.6. So Will Roberts finding some speed, and also Jason Brophy getting into some dirty air that's slowing him down.
You saw right there that shot coming off turn 2. It was the lap car of J.J. Odell, and then right behind him, second place running Will Roberts. I almost wonder, do you think, with the fact that we know the track conditions are slick, we know the track obviously is going to be abrasive on the tires, was Will Roberts hanging back, saving his stuff to make a charge like this, maybe hoping that Brophy was going to use up a lot of his tire grip, trying to, get a huge lead early on after that restart?
I mean, they've been running pretty similar times. Brophy was running faster than them for the first half of this stint, and then ever since he's hit lap traffic, Brophy's just been slowing down, losing time, and this is really looking good for Will Roberts. If we can continue gaining time like he is and maybe short pit, Will Roberts setting himself up to have a fantastic run as Will Roberts is trying to get by Odell here. But
not only a fantastic run, but his best run of the season. He is the only driver in the top 10 in the points that doesn't have a top 5 yet this year.
Will Roberts, it is less than 2 seconds, and he is gaining fast on that 88 machine.
And I think maybe what he's realizing right now is that both he and Jason Brophy are in the same boat of, how far can they stretch it to maybe be able to make it the rest of the way. He wants to close up the distance as quickly as possible. So if, to the point you made earlier, he tries to leapfrog and short pit over Brophy, he'll gain even more time via pit road.
I mean, I got to give credit to Will Roberts, right? He is on 71 lap-old tires, and he's running just as fast as Riley Thompson, who was one of those drivers that pitted on that last caution we had 58 laps ago. So 58 laps compared to the 72 laps, Will Roberts is running just as fast. Actually just ran faster than the guys that pitted last time. So that 39 machine has found pace, and he is cruising as he sees yellow in front of him and is trying to run him down.
That's even going through traffic. We saw him with J.J. Odell in front of him a few laps ago, just there, made the pass on the lap machine of Cohen Evans. So he's running these lap times in dirty air as well.
That time by, though, it was a faster lap for Jason Brophy. But, I mean, these lap cars, Brophy right in the thick of things, as he is now trying to run down 8th to try to lap them down, and he's almost right on the back bumper of Evan Adams. So it's getting closer and closer, and once we see Brophy get closer to lap traffic, will Roberts get even closer, or will they have to pit before then?
At maybe about 10 to 12 car lengths before Brophy catches up to Evan Adams, and then a little bit of a distance ahead is Rodrigo Munoz in the 7th position. So as we're closing in on those green flag pit stops, we are at lap 75. So we now know that everybody, maybe with the possible exception of Cass Silliman, is going to be able to make it here on one pit stop. It really depends. I think we can kind of use either Brophy or Roberts as a test case here. See just how far they can go, because maybe Cass Silliman came to pit lane back around lap 62 when the fuel window opened.
I mean, it's kind of a little flawed when Silliman came in because he pitted early. Brophy and Roberts were under 2 cautions. They were able to save fuel then. So they were still able to push it further than lap 75 as we're seeing these guys going by on the lap 77. So that's the reason why we were able to see Brophy and Will Roberts stay out as long as they have. And I mean, the closer that we see Brophy get closer to lap traffic, the closer we're starting to see Will Roberts inching his way on our leader.
Now, I want to point out as well that race leaders right now are running anywhere from a 23.2 to a 23.6. The fresh tires of Cass Silliman last time by, he ran a 23.1. So he's gaining anywhere from about 3 to 4 tenths, almost half a second sometimes on these laps.
Yeah, I mean, that last lap he gained about 6 tenths. So gaining a lot of time on our leaders. We'll have to wait and see where they go, as starting to see our leaders coming into the pits now, as well as, I believe, that was Roberto Munoz that also came into the pits.
Yeah, he's going to be pitting from tail end of the lead lap is Munoz. It looks like the car that stays out is going to actually be the 28 of Nicholas Johnston. This is actually the first lap that he has led here today, so Jason Brophy will not pull off the same heist that he did back at Iowa, where he led all 200 laps, as Nicholas Johnston is going to lead at least a couple of these ones here tonight at Milwaukee. But question now is, as we saw the race leaders come to pit road around lap 79, if Nicholas Johnston can only make it that far, he's going to be in the next 5 to 7 laps.
Oh boy, so with Stillman coming in early, he is ahead of Will Roberts. So there's that. But I mean, in front of Stillman has 2 cars in front of him. They're running extremely slow, and you got Will Roberts who's trying to run fast. With Nicholas Johnston where he's running, it's just not allowing these guys with faster and better tires to get by. They're all kind of stuck with everyone in where they're at as they're going 3 wide around turn number 4.
3 wide, almost 4 wide there through turn 3 as Stillman, Roberts, they're trying to make their way around the slower machine of Nicholas Johnston. They finally do as, whoa! Somebody, there was Evan Adams in the 59, held up Stillman and almost got turned around for his troubles.
You got to be careful doing that type of a move as Will Roberts probably extremely frustrated being stuck where he was at, losing all that time that he had gained. He was about almost a second away from Brophy, and now he's back to being 3.5 seconds back from Brophy. All that work that he had just done is thrown out the window.
We'll see what he's able to do here on fresh tires now. We saw what he was able to do on old tires as the lead is now transferred over to Andrew Wood in the 32. We won't see him on pit road maybe for the next 7 to 10 laps, as he was one of the drivers that came to pit road under the last caution along with Riley Thompson. Thompson, however, was on pit road last time by.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to see Andrew Wood stay out as long as we saw our leaders, as Evan Adams is coming in, as well as Bommersbach is coming into the pits. And I'm not expecting as Andrew Wood comes in the pits now.
Now that will turn the race lead over to Jason Brophy. Roberts will be in second, Will Roberts that is. Cass Silliman will be up to third, and we're still waiting on J.J. Odell and Mike Hurley to pit. They would cycle to 4th and 5th right now, but they are about maybe 3 laps away from having to pit. Actually, Odell hits pit road now, as does Hurley, so that moves Nicholas Johnston up to 4th, and right now Riley Thompson would be up into the 5th position as we wait for the green flag pit stops to completely cycle around.
Well, Brophy almost up to a 4-second gap as Will Roberts still stuck behind slower cars. Gets by Bommersbach there, and we'll see Bommersbach's tires kick in and enables him to get by Will Roberts. His caution is out, and oh boy. Wait to see.
Riley Thompson, perhaps?
Yeah, it was Thompson. He lost it all by himself. Entering turn number 3 is where he lost it.
And he was on the lead lap at the time, so he will remain on the lead lap, and it looks like Kite Bommersbach was the first car 1 lap down when that caution came out. This was just after everybody had just been on pit road. The one driver I think this might save, if it was a question mark of whether he could make it on fuel or not, is the 60 of Cass Silliman, because now he'll be able to come to pit road. Yes, he'll probably lose some track position, but he'll be also guaranteed to make it to the checkered flag on what he's got in the tank.
Yeah, that 60 machine's got to be a little bit nervous, though, because as it looks like we might be seeing some cat and mouse action with our leaders coming into the pits, and looks like Brophy into the pits. Will Roberts stays out, and also Silliman is going to be coming into the pits as well. So a couple machines deciding to get the fresher rubber, allowing Will Roberts to now take the lead.
Thompson's spin looked an awful lot like Nate Michael back on our first caution, just up above that dark gray through 3 and 4, and he actually saved it in turn 3, kept it going, but then it finally lost the grip again coming through turn 4 and looped around, and obviously with oncoming traffic, no choice for the race officials but to throw the yellow flag.
Well, with all the cars that have now come into the pits, we're going to have to wait and see if any of the drivers are going to be able to get a free wave around. I believe it will set these drivers up to possibly get a wave around. I don't think so. I'll have to wait and see how this works out. But 4
Right
drivers
there.
are not racing at the moment due to earlier accidents. But we still have 12 running with 7 on the lead lap now. We'll have to wait and see if who is able to come. As we're seeing some cars in the back. I think that was Cohen Evans now pulling it in. Take that back. It wasn't Cohen Evans. That was Munoz that pulls his car into the pits to get some fuel and tires.
And Munoz is on the lead lap, so not giving up much, as that drops him from about 5th down to 7th on this restart. And to answer your question, I believe that with Will Roberts staying out, there is no waiver rounds for anybody, because all the drivers that were a lap down behind Brophy when he pitted, they're still behind Will Roberts. So the only driver I believe that would get a free pass would be the one of Kite Bommersbach, and we'll probably see him go around as soon as the lights go out top the pace car, giving us 8 drivers on the lead lap. And I think one thing that really is going to help Brophy, I was kind of questioning him giving up the lead coming to pit road, because the difference in laps on tires would only be about 10 laps. And we know that Brophy was doing a great job as far as that track position out in front, but with Silliman on pit road, Riley Thompson, and Munoz all hitting pit road, that moves Brophy now up to the 4th position. So he's back within striking distance of Will Roberts. Roberts needed to have maybe 5 or 6 drivers between himself and the 88 on this restart.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Andrew Wood as well as Riley Thompson drive their way up from all the way in the back to up to like 4th and 5th place. So they were able to make some big moves. I think now Jason Brophy with the fresher tires compared to Will Roberts' 11 lap old tires, it's going to be hard for the 39, even with the couple of cars in between himself and the 88. I think Jason Brophy just has such a strong car. It's going to be hard for him not to win this race unless he's taken out.
And I know that we ended up attributing his charging to the front based on the fresh tires he had, but I kind of would watch that 32 of Andrew Wood just based on the way that this track is configured and the amount of banking you have in the corners. It reminds me a lot of Motegi. So, in the fact that the configuration might be a little bit similar, Andrew Wood could be someone to watch here as we get ready to go back green with Will Roberts, Nicholas Johnston, Andrew Wood, Jason Brophy, and Cass Silliman, your top 5, 60 laps to go.
Top 2 getting a fantastic start, and it's Andrew Wood that really did not get going, as Andrew Wood now has about a half-second gap between himself and 2nd place. But with the cars getting going, the draft being so strong, yes, it's the short track, but the draft is still helping everyone to close up as our top 4 are all single file.
Really spread out all the way back until you get to the battle with the lap machines, really. Kite Bommersbach there with Evan Adams. They're separated by about 3/10. Back up towards the front, though, it's still about maybe a car length and a half between 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are kind of just waiting at this point, but I think the one car that can't wait gotta be Silliman and Brophy and everyone else that is already coming to the pits. They need to start making a charge to the front. If they just let these tires and just, it looks like Andrew Wood got a little loose off of turn number 2, and he's now going to be losing some time. Silliman was almost thinking about diving it under Brophy.
Wood did lose time. I thought, as we're on board here with Brophy, I thought maybe he might lose momentum.
Silliman into the inside wall. Andrew Wood got loose again off of 4, and to evade Andrew Wood, Silliman had to dump his car down, was not able to save it. His car and race could be done, as that 60 machine is extremely off the pace.
Riding the apron through 1 and 2 there, you can definitely see visibly that the left side suspension is pushed in after his contact with the inside wall. Meanwhile, Brophy continuing to try and charge his way up through the field, but he's not exactly gotten away from Andrew Wood or Riley Thompson, who both have moved their way up to the 4th and 5th positions based off of their decision, let's face it, going all the way back to the 2nd caution to come to pit lane.
Nicholas Johnston and Roberts still battling it out up front. They got themselves a 1.1 second gap between themselves and that 88 machine, who's going to be making a charge here quick, as he has got a lot of free space around him to move. And you got Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson. They were so close to one another, thought there was going to be a pass by Riley Thompson, not able to, and he'll just be drifting on back.
I know that obviously Nicholas Johnston in the rearview mirror there trying to hound Will Roberts for the lead, but I almost think that Will Roberts would not want to see a caution till the end of this race because when we looked at the lap time comparisons back on the last green flag run, Will Roberts got faster as the run got longer. So I think he would love to see this thing go green to the end. Maybe see if he can gap himself not only to Jason Brophy, but Nicholas Johnston right now, who's still within striking distance, about 3.5 car lengths right now.
Yeah, Silliman, it was fantastic seeing him racing tonight, but do that damage, he just does not feel like he's got enough time to repair it and get back on the track. The 60 machine is done for the day.
And one thing we see with series at the end of the season are different names, new names popping in, trying it out, testing the waters, if you will. We'll probably see some of these guys like Silliman, Michael Farley next week as well at Watkins Glen, and then more than likely we'll see them race full time in the next season of the Racetrack Designs IndyCar series. So it's definitely different stages that we go through during the course of the season. Of course, we have our favorites going through the middle portion, but then we have those young guns, if you will, those new faces that pop up, and we get to see their comparison of experience to the guys we're used to seeing on track every week.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see fresh faces coming in. It gives these guys a chance to challenge these guys that have been racing all season long and maybe have gotten into a lull about racing with the guys that they're around. And adding some new blood really helps these guys make sure to keep on their toes, because you never know what the guys around you are going to be doing. As we're seeing Nicholas Johnston and Will Roberts side-by-side action, which is going to be bringing in the 88 machine, but it looks like he might be blinking just a little bit. So that's something to watch out for the 88. Will he have any internet or connection issues that takes him out of this race?
Nicholas Johnston tried to make a move there going into turn 3, got the nose chopped off courtesy of Will Roberts and had to lift, so that allows a little breathing space for the moment for Roberts back out in front. But to your point, that side-by-side battling has brought Brophy into the mix. He's now gotten the toe off the 28, drafting down the back straightaway.
Yeah, I mean, them staying side-by-side was about a 0.3 difference between themselves and the 88 machine. Now we're seeing that right now, Brophy about 0.4 off of Johnston, but he just is able to dive his car in so much harder than everyone else, and it stays on the yellow line. It's not like he's losing time. He's just able to race so much more aggressive than everyone else is that 88 machine.
He drives it in deeper, but there's almost like a fine line. You have to run off the corner to get that good straightaway speed. You almost counter steer your car coming off of 2 or 4 and have maybe a sheet of paper distance between your tires and that outside wall. Will Roberts seems to be the guy that's mastered that, as he's really good getting off the corner, putting it right up close to the wall to get that good straightaway speed.
As we're waiting to see our leaders get side-by-side, there is side-by-side action back with cars that are a lap down. Battle for 9th has just been heating up between Cohen Evans and JJ Odell, and they were side-by-side for about 3 laps, it seemed like. Couldn't tell who was going to be taking it, and it was the 38 machine of Odell that finally gets by Cohen Evans. Is now in 9th place.
Cohen Evans right now saying, hey man, what are you doing? This is your first start, but I'm trying to keep myself up there in the point standings. I mean, right now, Cohen Evans trying to hold off Rodrigo Munoz, as those two came into this race tied for 6th in the standings. Right now, Munoz on the lead lap in 6th, and right now, Evans making the pass will move into the 9th spot.
I mean, you got to give credit to Munoz, our biggest mover, or one of our biggest movers, from started 13th up to 6th place, and some other big movers are still running here. It's going to be Evan Adams, who was 15th starting out this race, and now is up to 8th.
Back up towards the front, the battle for 2nd getting a little bit closer now, as Will Roberts starting to pull away just the least little bit. And if these guys, Johnston and Brophy, start getting side-by-side for 2nd place, they're going to stall each other out. That's going to be good news for Roberts to try and continue to gap. And I think right now what he's thinking of, he's looking at that bright yellow machine of Brophy, because I think he's thinking that's going to be his main source of competition. We're starting to see Johnston fade as the run goes on.
Yeah, I mean, Johnston's starting to fade, and another car that's starting to bring himself in is Andrew Wood. Andrew Wood is starting to creep up on the 88 machine, so this could become a 4-car battle, but I think if Brophy didn't have to pass Johnston here, we would be talking about here comes Brophy. But due to the fact that there is a car in between Roberts and Brophy, this could be Will Roberts' race to lose if he continues running the way it is. That 39 machine is looking really good. Even though he's on the older tires compared to everyone else, he's still running extremely quick times.
The situation that you just mentioned, it all goes back to Will Roberts' choice to stay out under that yellow just nearing the halfway point of the race, Brophy's decision to give up the lead and come to pit road. He's now mired back in that third position as there'll be 40 laps to go this time around for Will Roberts. And I really don't want to say it because I don't want the broadcaster's curse to hit, but what an amazing job it would be for Will Roberts to get his first top 5 of the season to capture a checkered flag here tonight. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, back when we were at Iowa, there were 2 drivers that had the challenge of every lap that they led. There was going to be a dollar donated to the charity of that night. Brophy was one. I believe Will Roberts was the other. So is it a shocker that we've seen these two be the ones to battle it out here tonight at another short track?
I mean, they just seem like short track specialists, we could say. I mean, we always say that about road course drivers, but Brophy, he looks like he might be having a little bit of a battle here. It's side-by-side action for third. Andrew Wood looking like he's got the stronger car. Brophy's car could be drifting on back here a lot quicker than we have first imagined. I mean, these tires are only 24-lap-old tires. This was around the time that they started to equal out with everyone else. But Andrew Wood, he's on a little bit older tires than Brophy, and I think due to the fact that they are now equaling out, this is why we're starting to see Brophy drift on back.
Well, let's also remember that Brophy spent the first half of this race out in front. Yes, he would catch the occasional slow machine and he would encounter dirty air there, but he spent most of the race out in clean air. Didn't get much of an experience of what the car is like, as I think he may have just gotten the wall there off of 4. If he didn't, it was close.
I think he was just really close, and these tires do not feel like they're comfortable for the 88 machine as he's dropping back, and now we got to set our sights forward. Does Johnston have anything for Will Roberts? I mean, it's less than a second. It's about 3/4 of a second between first and second place. And then you got Andrew Wood, who's trying to make a charge here to second place if he can. So Will Roberts looking pretty up front. We'll see if he's able to hold on as these laps are ticking away.
Mentioned about Andrew Wood having older tires than Brophy, has moved up to third. Well, he's got 2-lap fresher tires than Nicholas Johnston, 6-lap fresher tires than Will Roberts, and he is laying down the fastest laps of the drivers inside the top 5 right now. 35 laps to go and only about a second and a half to make up on race leader Will Roberts. Andrew Wood, I think, has got plenty of time to do it.
He's got plenty of time, and with the way that these tires are now equaled out, it's more so of, hey, can you protect your tires for the end of this race? As we're saying, Will Roberts, now the fastest car on track at the moment with a 22.8. And it's only a couple of hundredths off. He's Andrew Wood. So it's not like we're seeing Will Roberts really pull away from Andrew Wood, but he is pulling away from Johnston, and Johnston started to get fire from the guy in third in points, and third on the track right now, Andrew Wood.
Brought up the fact when we went green that the track's going to start getting cooler as we wane on into this race. It was about 98 degrees when we went green. It's now dropped to 96 degrees. Does 2 degrees make that big of a difference for these drivers?
Well, at one point during this race, the track temp was at about 100 degrees. And yeah, if it drops down to about 2 degrees, 4 degrees, it's a big thing. You're able to drive just a little bit more harder. The track and tires just feel like it's a little bit more stickier, and you're able to have more grip. That's why we're able to see these guys running a little bit faster than what they were doing earlier on in the race.
As the battle up front was heating up, it has now kind of dissipated just a little bit. There's a battle possibly between Johnston and Wood, but the drivers that are running 9th, 10th, 11th on track, they've all been running within somewhere about 7/10 of a second of each other. JJ Odell, Cohen Evans, and Mike Hurley still mixing it up back here just inside of the top 10.
Yeah, these guys trying to figure out who's going to finish in the top 10, and they're all lapped down just due to the fact that the way that the pit stops and also how fast Brophy was running in that first real long green flag stint that we had. So these guys just trying to put on a show and entertain themselves as they're back here trying to see these laps tick away and finish out this race.
Andrew Wood, fastest on track again, but I think he's getting a little aid of draft on these straightaways, running in the tire tracks of Nicholas Johnston, who I don't know if he just moved low there to try and break the draft or if he almost got the wall there off of 4, but he's got about 2 car lengths before Andrew Wood's going to challenge him for that second position, and then we'll see just exactly how good a car Andrew Wood has if he can get up there and challenge Will Roberts for the lead. He's still got to deal with that 28 first.
Well, Andrew Wood trying to make the pass here in one corner. He cannot stay side by side for a whole lap and waste time that way. He needs to make a very clean pass, and it looks like he's trying to set himself up to make the pass here in turn number 3. Once that pass is done, yeah, I mean, I think he's close enough that he could make a challenge, but due to the fact that they're so close to one another, Will Roberts now putting himself a sub 23 lap time. Yeah, he's running the fastest here on track while everyone else is running a 23 or higher second lap time. These guys in second trying to set themselves up. Andrew Wood dipping it down low, just wasn't close enough really to really confirm for that pass, and now still in line. Yeah, we're seeing Johnston trying to break and snake a little bit during the back stretch and a little bit on the front stretch. Just trying to break as much draft as possible so Andrew Wood doesn't have any advantage coming into the corners.
Plus, the entry into the corner is causing some issues for Andrew Wood, trying to make that late move down into either 1 or 3. The car pushes up through the center. He has to get off the throttle in order to make it out of 2 or 4, whereas Nicholas Johnston, he gets to choose the lane he wants to take. He's entering in maybe just a little bit above that dark gray on the inside. That's allowing him to arc the corner, get back to the throttle sooner on exit.
So I'm looking on our telemetry to see where our leader is at and where that 3-car battle for 9th, 10th, and 11th is going on. It's going to be close. We might be seeing our leader catch lap traffic before the race is over. If our leader catches traffic and Andrew Wood's able to make this pass on Johnston, it's going to be a close race here at the end. But right now, Will Roberts feeling comfortable and up front with over a second, almost a 2-second gap on second place.
Again, another sub 23 second lap time with a 22.9. And yeah, a couple of these laps we'd have to base off of pacing, as he ended up staying out when we had a caution come out just after everyone had cycled around with green flag pit stops. But lap 49 on this stint for the 39 machine, and this was around the time back when we had that battle brewing for the lead between himself and Jason Brophy, that Will Roberts' car got better and better on the long run. I think that's why we're seeing him being able to run these 22.9s consistently.
Yeah, I mean, he's running the 22.9s for the past 3 laps or so, and it's just been looking like that 39 is just feeling more and more comfortable as these laps tick away. We're getting closer to 20 laps to go, and just looking at the gap between our leader and the lap cars, they're about a half straightaway difference. So you gotta wonder, with the fact that we're starting to see, looking back here, the battle for 10th is heating up. If they get side by side and our leader gets closer and closer due to them battling, lap traffic could be a cause to see second place get closer to our first place right now.
Mike Hurley goes around the outside of Cohen Evans to move into the 10th position, and I think the advantage we were kind of looking at in terms of lap times between Will Roberts and Andrew Wood about 20 laps ago, I think it's gone, because I think Andrew Wood, who had about, 3 to 6 lap advantage on the top 2 as far as the tire rubber underneath him, with how hard he had to battle right there with Nicholas Johnston, I think the tires have now evened out.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep your tires and just run smoothly, as we were seeing Andrew Wood do, and then once he saw that Brophy's car was fading off, that's when he started to take off, try to make a move and charge forward, and just wasn't able to get by Johnston. And due to the fact that he was pushing his car so hard for so long, now his car's starting to drift back. I have to wait and see if Andrew Wood, he's not going to get second, but could he lose third to Jason Brophy?
Now, Brophy right now continues to just ride in that 4th position. Brophy has been faster than Andrew Wood the last couple of laps, although he is 1.2 seconds back from that 32 car. Looks like Brophy's car kind of went away on the early portion of the run. Andrew Wood's car going away on the latter portion of the run. But as things run right at this current point in time, Will Roberts continues to run the 22.9s, that time by a 22.920, and continues to put distance between himself and Nicholas Johnston.
Starting to put a gap between himself, but also getting closer and closer to these 3 cars, 9th, 10th, and 11th. We'll put them 2 laps down if our leader catches them and passes them, but we saw with Brophy, once he caught lap traffic, it enabled second place to gain back up on the leader. Will we see the same thing, and will there be enough time? Nicholas Johnston's trying everything he can to try to gain on this 39 of Will Roberts. Roberts trying to get his first win of the season. Nicholas Johnston's trying to go for another win on his list of wins this season.
Nicholas Johnston, with the 5 wins he has this season, 4 of them came at road courses. The other one of course, coming at the big one, the Indianapolis 500. So he's looking for what would be only his second Speedway win of the season. Interesting, too, because if we look at the previous short track of Iowa, we already documented Jason Brophy led every lap. We've had 3 leaders here tonight in this one. Of course, the first 72 laps led by pole sitter Jason Brophy. Nicholas Johnston led a couple of laps during the green flag pit stop cycles, and since then it's been all Will Roberts out in front, as he's going to have less than 15 to go this time by.
Will Roberts getting by 1 lap car and gave a 10th to Johnston, but once there was such a big gap between 11th and 10th that once Will Roberts got past the lap machine, he was able to gain back all that time that he lost. So that did not help Johnston at all after seeing that 0.3 difference, because Will Roberts just put down another sub-23 lap out of nowhere. You think the 39 car might not have the tires still, but then just shocks us with another 22.9 lap.
Now he's going to close in on 2 race cars. That's a battle for 9th place going on between JJ Odell and Mike Hurley. Mike Hurley's car has actually come alive here on the long run. We saw him pass Cohen Evans for 10th. He's now looking for 9th on the 38, and there's the race leader, Will Roberts, right behind there, trying to figure out if they'll settle out this battle before he gets to him, or will he be able to pass them before they start mixing it up for that 9th spot.
And we're coming now to close to 11 laps to go, and the battle for 3rd heating up, as well as we're seeing Brophy slowly catching up to Andrew Wood, but also catching up to Brophy is Riley Thompson. So it might be a 3-car battle here for 3rd. Andrew Wood battled hard and tried to make a charge to the lead, but he might have used up all of his stuff, and he is starting to fade back. Could be losing more positions with the way things are going.
All right, Sam, it's time for me to pick your brain here, because as Will Roberts hits the line for 10 to go, if we end up seeing a late race caution here in the final stages of this race, do we see everyone come to pit road, or do you think there'd be someone that might try and stay out and gain track position, knowing that everybody here has at least been out there for 50 circuits on this set of tires?
Anyone from 5th on back, I would imagine they would come into the pits. It's up to our leader. If he comes in the pits, most of the top 5 will be staying out. There's with how small the field is, if you pit, you're probably feeling good. It matters on how much of if we have with 4 laps to go, hypothetically, if coming into the pits, seeing their top 4 not pit, you're feeling comfortable to pass everyone, get up front. But most people will probably pit, even if we have a late caution, unless that caution means that we are going to be finishing under yellow.
Jason Brophy is a brave, brave man, because he drove it in really deep, trying to make the pass and completing the pass on Andrew Wood for 3rd place, and he's been out there for 55 laps. I'm not sure I'd have had the confidence with 55-lap old tires to drive it in as deep as he did.
Well, he knows he needs to drive deep because Riley Thompson's been trying to run him down for a bit. He needed to get by Andrew Wood as fast as possible. Got it done. For other cars that needed to make fast passes, Will Roberts got past all 3 lap machines. He is good to the end. There's no lap traffic near him. He's just got clean air to worry about. Nicholas Johnston just got by everyone, but it is over a 3-second gap between 1st and 2nd. If there's a late caution, that's what Nicholas Johnston is praying for.
In the last 2 laps, Will Roberts gained a 2nd and 3/10 over Nicholas Johnston. It was about 1.9 seconds. It's now 3.2, almost 3.3 seconds, as Will Roberts, the next flag he wants to see in the flagman's hand is the white. He does not want to see a caution here in these final 5 laps.
He really doesn't, but a car that's open for a caution, maybe get fresher tires, is Andrew Wood, who's under fire from Riley Thompson. Thompson was thinking about diving it deep, but just was not able to. And now they're still running here. They're catching up to lap traffic now as Brophy's trying to pull away from both of them. And there's not enough time for Brophy to catch up to Nicholas Johnston, but I think a 3rd place finish after dropping back is still a good finish for Jason Brophy. You just saw Will Roberts being the driver that was able to save his tires over the long run.
You almost wonder if Jason Brophy gave this win away possibly when he chose to come to pit road on that caution just around the midway point of this race. He's been able to work his way back up to 3rd, but that's as far as he's been able to go since we went back green. Andrew Wood here closing on Cohen Evans. This might give an opportunity for Riley Thompson to get closer in this battle for 4th.
Might be able to, as Riley Thompson You've seen Evans get out of the way for these drivers, so really not really anything for Andrew Wood to worry about, but Riley Thompson still trying to regroup, hit his marks, as he is taking it extremely wide, and those are not the angles you want to take, trying to gain on someone, just losing time on Andrew Wood at this point as the laps are ticking away. Will Roberts, 2 laps to go, coming to the white flag once he comes around turn number 4.
Will Roberts, the decision to stay out when that caution came out around lap 73 is going to pay off here, as the white flag was just displayed over his nose. He's looking for, amazingly enough, as I said, his first top 5 of the season, and it looks like it's going to be a checkered flag here in the 13th race of the season, as through 3 and 4, the Milwaukee Mile is going to go to Will Roberts, his first checkered flag of the season here in the Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series.
And coming off of turn number 4, Andrew Wood and Riley Thompson. Looks like it's going to be Andrew Wood. It's going to get 4th. Riley Thompson finishing up your top 5, and 3rd, Jason Brophy. It's the top 5 very fast cars. Andrew Wood did not want to be multiple cars behind Johnston. That is more points that he is losing on the 28. And honestly, it's cementing the season that this 28 machine has been having all season long. But this race goes to Will Roberts.
Nicholas Johnston has had only one finish outside of the top 10 this year, and that, of course, was, I believe it was the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where he DNF'd in that event. He's been very consistent all season long. Another solid run here today, just continuing to make the case for himself that, you know, we may end up getting to the season finale at Chicagoland with the championship already decided, depending on what happens next week at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it really matters on if Nicholas Johnston get another win. If he does, I mean, everyone else in the points right now, it's between Liam Quinn at the moment, but due to him missing this race, it's a lot of points he's losing on our leader. It might just be Andrew Wood and Nicholas Johnston here at the end of this thing, and Andrew Wood needs a win, and he needs Nicholas Johnston practically not to show up for the last 2 races.
7th different winner on the season, Will Roberts, taking this checkered flag here tonight at the Milwaukee Mile. We're going to get a word with him in just a moment, along with the other 2 top 3 finishers, which we're going to show the results here now, would be Nicholas Johnston in 2nd and Jason Brophy there in 3rd. Andrew Wood hangs on for the 4th spot with Riley Thompson in 5th, and the last car to finish on the lead lap was Rodrigo Munoz. Kite Bommersbach, first car 1 lap down in 7th. Evan Adams also a lap down in 8th. And the rest of the cars to finish this race out, Mike Hurley in 9th, JJ Odell in 10th, and 11th place, Cohen Evans. 5 drivers out of the race after 3 cautions here today. Cass Silman's incident did not bring out a yellow, but he'll finish in 12th. Nate Michael 13th, Danny Roberts 14th, and Justin Miller, Trey Farley will finish the rest of the field. Trey Farley never really even got to take the green flag as he had an incident under the pacing lap just before going green. But let's see if we can get a word here with some of our podium finishers. Let's kick things off with points leader and possible eventual champion based on what happens at Watkins Glen. I think we can maybe call him the champion now, but it's never over till the fat lady sings. Let's get a word with Nick Johnson here, who brings it home in the 2nd position. And Nick, I mean, you started closing in there near the end, the beginning of that last green flag run. Did you have anything there in terms of the newer tires for the 39 car, or did it just start going away from you on the longer that green flag run went?
I really, Seth, it was just going to come down to clean air. And that's just how Milwaukee is. I mean, it's all track position game, trying to get yourself in the right place at the right time. So you have that clean air, and Will made a little mistake off of 4, and I had a run and kind of had to go for it because it was really going to be my only opportunity. He was able to hold me off on the outside, and then from that point on, it was just chilling. Really, it's really all you can do. Andrew Wood got really close to me there at the mid part of that last stint, but all I really had to do was hold him off for 5 to 10 laps, and then sitting in my dirty air too long, his tires went to junk, and it was just kind of hanging out.
Obviously, you had a really nice points gap coming into this race. The guy that was close to you in the standings, Liam Quinn, was not in tonight's event. So you were one of 3 drivers that decided to stay out there when that caution came out, just a couple laps after you guys had all been to pit road for that round of green flag pit stops. Had it been a closer situation points-wise for the championship, would you have come to pit road, or would that have in any way changed your decision of staying out?
Not really. Early on in that race, on that first caution, we'd gone 2, 3 laps, had a caution, and I pitted, come down with new tires, and it really didn't do much for me. I just you're kind of like I said, you're stuck where you're at. You can do something the first 5, 10 laps, and then that point on, you're just kind of chilling. And I had 3, 4 laps of my tires after the green flag stop, so I was like, well, I'm going to do the opposite what the leader does. And Jason came down, and Cass came down, but with Will staying out, I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and just stay out and get the track position. We were able to hold on for second place, so happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like, Nick, that this race was kind of a set in stone thing. Once tires got worn down, you kind of were stuck where you were at. I mean, how are you feeling about next week with the fact that it's another road course and, we're coming to only 2 races left in the season. Championship wise, it's looking pretty good for you. How are you feeling about going to another road course?
I'm ready to go somewhere where I make more of a difference than where I am on the track. So that'll be exciting. I always like Watkins Glen. It's a big draft pack. Usually we end up with a pretty good lead group, good battle, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, obviously, a lot of momentum continues on this season, Nick. It's the 12th race of the season, or I'm sorry, the 13th race of the season, and it's only it's now the 12th, I believe, race that you finished up inside of the top 10. I think Las Vegas was the only race where you didn't finish in the top 10. So the consistency continues on here as you continue to point your way towards the championship. And we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Yeah, just gotta thank you guys for putting on the broadcast weekend. We kind of do a great job, Fuel Racing League, for putting on the league and the series. It's really fun to race in. Congratulations to Will, my teammate, Project 2, all the Project 2 guys, thank you. And yeah, that's about it. We'll just keep racking up decent finishes and end up on top at the end of the year.
That's Nicholas Johnston. 4 of his 5 wins on the season came at road courses. We're at Watkins Glen next week, so we might talk to you then. Best of luck.
Thanks, Seth. Have a good night.
And let's get in our 3rd place finisher, Jason Brophy, who started on the pole, led the first half of this race. And Jason, if you could do it again, going back to that last caution, would you have made the choice to stay out, knowing just exactly how the car kind of seemed to go away there on the first portion of that last run?
Yes. I let ego drive my decision there. It was pretty close on fuel. Very close on fuel if I'd have stayed out. And so I thought I can probably get back up through here, and I want to make sure I'm safe on fuel. And that was 100% the right call. Or wrong call, sorry. Wrong call. Because Will and Nick were, and even Andrew, they were all better than me. I think Riley was probably better once in clean air, but I put it on pole with a great qualifying lap, and I was able to control it just because clean air was king. But I should have figured it out once I got in the lap traffic and Will was running me back down that I wouldn't be able to do it. And, live and learn.
Is that why we saw your car kind of go away there on that run, being back in traffic, since you had enjoyed the clean air for the first 70 or so laps?
Yeah, I mean, on that first run, I knew I had to make it to as far as I possibly could on fuel, and then I was just catching people to try and lap them. Even coming out of the pits, I came out behind Rodrigo on even tires, and I was having a hard time getting him. I should have put 2 together, but I just, in clean air, I didn't know how to drive it to avoid, having any issues. That was the big issue. They were, like, Andrew was way better in dirty air than me. I think you see most of the guys did a better job with dirty air. I'd fall off hard. Figured I take care of the right front a little better than what Andrew was doing, but I just in traffic was not very good. So
Yeah, I mean, Jason, would you say that later on in the run, it's not really it's more of protecting your tires than it is about the air at the end?
I mean, the air still matters a ton. If you have clean air, right, it protects the tires more than anything. Taking the air off the front is going to abuse the right front more and more. and then that just kind of compounds itself because your right front's worn more. It kind of the car pushes more. So the only other difference is this set had some. It was a bit twitchy beginning of runs. There was a bit of sideways. But yeah, I think really the clean air was as important as I don't want to say taking care of your tires. You saw Andrew didn't take care of his tires at all in that last run. At the end of the run, he was just done. There was nothing left. But I think if you just ran normal and you tried to somewhat take care of it a little bit, the clean air was bigger. If I think you just didn't try and push it really hard every corner, because I think that almost slows you down unless you've got whatever Andrew had figured out there. So.
Well, Jason, I mean, it certainly played tricks with our eyes because we're so used to seeing you in that UPS car out there, but it wasn't hard to miss you out there with the bright yellow colors this week, but a great third place run for you. You ran up in the podium all day long, and we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Sure. Obviously, so you can see by the paint, I've joined Team Talent now. So after the Open Indy 500, so ran with Andrew tonight. I'm still running with GMS when they're here, but they weren't here tonight. So for at least this season, I want to thank them. I want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, and Will and Evan for putting on the league. And I want to congratulate Will. I'm glad to see him win it. He was fast, and I know he's good at this track because I stared at his spoiler for 150 laps last time we were here. Didn't really put myself in a position to stare at it at all tonight. Led or wasn't even close to him. He just gone. So I want to congratulate Will there for that. That was a good run by him. So.
That's Jason Brophy. He brings it home third place here tonight at the Milwaukee Mile. Still a great run for you, a great performance, and looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table as we go road course racing again next week at Watkins Glen. And let's bring in Will Roberts, who's down there celebrating in victory lane. And Will, I mean, the first top 5 of the season, and it's a checkered flag here tonight at the Milwaukee Mile. I mean, what's the emotions going through your mind right now?
Oh, I am worn out. Shoot. I'm happy. I'm so glad that I finally got a result that actually matches how I've been running, how I've run at all this season. I've just had the worst season, and I'm just, oh.
Well, I want to go back just before you guys made that first round of green flag pit stops. You really were good on the long run. You cut down what was about a 3-second gap down to about a 1.5 seconds. And yeah, you lost a little bit of time after the pit stop cycles came around, but the decision to stay out, you were fast again on the long run, where it's basically the mentality, just please not let there be a caution, let this thing run out green to the end.
So Milwaukee's always been one of those tracks that's won on strategy, and clean air is just always at such a premium here. And I knew, especially after that very first caution, when I was able to hold off my teammate Nick, even though he had about 6 or 7 lap fresher tires, I knew at that point that if I was able to get out in front, I'd be able to hang on, I'd be all right. And yeah, I just went out, I executed. I was waiting to make some sort of dumb mistake like I always seem to do, but it didn't happen for once, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, Will, it was a great run that we saw you have there. I mean, you came back on the second half, just dominated it. Do you feel like this is helping you with momentum for coming up to the next season, just because of how your season so far has been going? It's been kind of rough for you, but do you think this is a momentum changer of a race?
I sure hope so. Milwaukee's always been good to me. I don't know what it is, but it's just something about these sort of strategy races, strategy tracks always seems to do me well. So fingers crossed, but I guess time will tell.
Well, the strategy definitely did work out for you here tonight, taking home your first checkered flag of the season, and we're going to let you do some shout-outs now, Will.
I want to give a quick shout out to my girlfriend Brittany. I'm sure I don't know if she's watching, but I love you, babe. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody that comes here every week and makes this league as good as. Thank you, everybody.
That's Will Roberts. He celebrates in victory lane here tonight at the Milwaukee Mile. Congrats on a great run and congrats on a tremendous checkered flag here this evening. As Sam alluded to, it's great to see after the hard luck you've had this season, you be able to pull out a victory here closing down the end of the season.
Thank you, guys.
And I mean, I was just looking over Will Roberts' numbers coming to this. We documented the fact already. This is his first top 5 of the season. This is only his third top 10 of the year as well. And the numbers, as Will alluded to, the numbers don't do it justice on just how well he's been running this year. He's just run into a lot of hard luck, a lot of it sometimes not of his making.
Yeah, I mean, all the wrecks that he's been a part of, it seems like it's when he's up front in the top 5, top 3 sometimes, and he just gets caught up into some unlucky situations. And luckily today, that luck changed, and he found himself up front when it really mattered the most.
Absolutely. So he is going to probably continue celebrating this one all the way into next week when these drivers will roll into upstate New York at the Watkins Glen International Raceway for what will be the final road course stop of the season. Now, obviously, we got to have Nicholas Johnston up there towards the top of our favorites, but saw Will Roberts get his first checkered flag of the season here tonight, and there's a couple of guys that we could see consistently up at the front at road courses this season. One name that kind of pops to mind is Riley Thompson.
Yeah, Riley Thompson also is a very fast car to be up there. And then also, you never know what's going to happen with Andrew Wood. He shows pace every once in a while. Kite Bommersbach, he's a guy to watch out for, and you never know. We might see some other drivers that didn't make it for this race make it for Watkins Glen.
Aaron Daly would fit into that category as he's been very good at the road courses since starting back at Road Atlanta. So we may see an 8th different winner, maybe on strategy next week at Watkins Glen as well. Watkins Glen's one of those shorter road courses we're going to this season compared to some of the other ones we've been to. So we could see fuel strategy definitely come into play as we more than likely will see the race run green the entire way. But that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight from the Milwaukee Mile. Will Roberts is your winner here this evening, his first win of the season. And Sam, a really good short track race. Appreciate you joining me tonight.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be up in the booth.
And thanks to everybody that tuned into tonight's event as well. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Next broadcast you'll see us do will be tomorrow night as we will have the Rapid Fire Pizzas National Series. They will be at the Mid-Ohio Road Course, and then we will have Chris Cup Series and the Soda Guys Cup Series. They'll have their races on Saturday. But until tomorrow evening, for Sam Dyer, I am Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast here courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network. Have a great night, everybody.